מודה אני כל בוקר שהחזרת את נשמתי, מודה אני על בגד שנחת על גופי, שלא יהיה לי קר, אתה שומר עליי. מודה אני כל בוקר על האור, על עצם היותי, מודה אני על לחם שנחת לשולחני, שלא אהיה רעב, שלא אדע כאב. על אין ספור חיוכיי מודה אני, על כל כישרונותיי ועל כל שיריי, את כולם מקדיש לך. דע לך, שמודה אני לך. אצעק לך, אגיד שמך, אליך אקרא, לך חיי, לך ליבי ותודתי, אליך אקרא, אליך אקרא. מודה אני כל בוקר על כוחי, על אבי ועל אמי, מודה אני על גשר שנתת בשדותיי, לדאוג לאוהביי נתת לי חיי. על יום המנוחה מודה אני, על שפע וברכה, על המשפחה, כל כולי רק בזכותך. דע לך, שמודה אני לך. אצעק לך, אגיד שמך, אליך אקרא, לך חיי, לך ליבי ותודתי, אליך אקרא. על כל כישלונותיי מודה אני, על אכזבותיי, פחדיי ומכשוליי, הם כולם לטובתי. אין אחר בליבי, רק לך מודה אני. אצעק לך, אגיד שמך, אליך אקרא, לך חיי, לך ליבי ותודתי, אליך אקרא, אליך אקרא.
Portland. This is the Portland Jewish Hour. My name is Shuri Rutzik, and I have a special guest on the show this morning. Before I introduce my guest, today's music choice is all by her, and we have Omer Adam open the show. Can you tell us why you chose this song?
Hi, good morning. I love this song so much. It's about being grateful. It's grateful for the morning. It's grateful for waking up. It's grateful to have the family that I have, that I hope the listeners can relate to. It's grateful for the rain that comes in our field. It's grateful for the successes as well as the failures that we have in our life. It's grateful for the heart that God instilled in each one of us.
And that was Omer Adam, right?
Yes, it was.
So my guest this morning here on the Portland Jewish Hour is Dorice Horenstein, and if you have not met her yet, you should run and do that. Dorice is a Jewish educator, and she's on the path now to becoming more of a speaker and an author, and I invited her this morning to mostly speak about her new book, but about some other stuff that will come up. Dorice was born and raised in Israel, and she moved to Portland after serving as an officer in the Israeli Defense Force. After meeting her soon-to-be husband back at the day, while he was volunteering in a kibbutz. She worked in education for more than 30 years, teaching more than 1,000 students in private and class setting. She received her bachelor degree in English literature and certifications in linguistic and project management from Portland State University. Today, the world is her classroom, and she uses her unique communicative style and her knowledge in helping others foster the four relationship everyone should experience to live wholeheartedly, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more later. Dorice's work has been praised by Rabbi Joseph Tuskin, best-selling author of more than 15 books on Jewish ethics and literacy. Tuskin states the book is very powerful and very beautiful. What I have read is passionate. Every spiritual and well reasoned three things that don't always go together. I particularly love the analysis of the word matspun, conscious, and its variety of related meanings. And I'm going to stop here because I don't want to say too much about the book before we actually talk about it. But good morning, Dorice. Welcome to Kaboo.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And you've been here forever. You are the first Israeli I met when I moved into town because, back in the day, everybody thought that because we're Israeli, we must know each other and get together. So people kind of brought us together to meet, which was really awesome.
Absolutely.
And you were still working in education and being a community leader. And can you just tell us a little bit about being here?
Well, I met my husband in Israel, and he brought me here. I came in 1986 with one suitcase and $600 in December with no coat. Can you imagine that? And we have, and I've been here ever since. And I got my degree in English literature, thinking that I will go back to Israel and teach English, which was my first love. And you plan and God laughs, or God has a different plan. He may not laugh, but He has a different plan for you. So here I am, teaching and I hope inspiring other people within the Jewish community, but also outside of the Jewish community, to connect with our roots and to connect with spirituality and with Jewish wisdom. And so I'm grateful for all the people that I've met, and of course I'm grateful to meeting you way back then. How many years it's been?
Over 12 years.
Over 12 years. Well, I've been here for 31 years. I've been married 31, so it's 32 years. Yeah. So I'm glad. And now it seems like my life has opened yet a new door for me. And that's my book, and speaking about my book, and speaking, and generally making the world my classroom, as you said so beautifully. Yeah.
So before we talk about the book, some of the challenges that of being here, and that's why people brought us together as Israelis, thinking that we kind of find comfort in thinking rightly, that we find comfort in having other people from the same culture and the same experience next to us. And you're going to talk a little bit about the basic for your book, or what brought the experience that brought that. But through 30 years of life here, how does it feel to be so far away from home?
What a path it has been, really. I mean, when I think about myself 30 years ago, every time I would go to Israel, my husband would have to come to Israel to take me back to the United States, and I would be crying all the way back on the plane. It would be sad to leave my family, to leave what I've grown up in the society, and I think it's important to keep on the village that you have. And for me, meeting Israelis like you, like other people, I'm teaching a class with Israelis families with children called Ivrit Bivrit, and that's another way that we form a community. Just last night, all the moms of Ivrit Bivrit program, we got together for dinner, and so we create a community because we do need that venue to express ourselves as Israelis, because we do have a little different methods. We may be a bit different than the American culture, but having married an American, I I learned also to adapt to that world. So I think I've like one leg in the Israeli culture and another leg in the American culture. But it's hard to be away from your family. And so when people come and meet with me, I'm almost like a kind of a little bit of a support group for them because I've gone through this. I've gone to the missing of your parents and your family and your food and where do you buy certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but time does make an enormous impact on how we perceive life. And 30 years ago, I was not feeling as comfortable as I am today. And I think today I take the best out of both cultures. I want to believe I'm taking the best, and I move with that, and I hope that I present Israel well to the Americans, and also to the Israelis I present America in a positive way.
And the nice thing is now, when I came in, we already had the internet being in everybody's houses, and now on the palm of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So the connection and the communication makes it smaller. It's
everything
is more globalized.
I remember just a plain phone call to Israel would be for 20 minutes, 15 minutes would be $40, $50. And when you don't have that as a young Israeli living in the United States, you can't. So then you write letters, right? But it's 3 weeks until you hear back. And so, yeah, now it's everything. FaceTime, WhatsApp videos, it makes it easier. Makes it easier, definitely.
Okay, let's listen to one more song and then continue talking about what made you make the transition and write.
Okay.
תזוז אתה, מסתיר לי את הלב שלי, תודה רבה. נדלק אצלי האור, אני רוצה להיות שמחה. אני מזמן כבר לא בוכה. אני רוצה להיות שמחה ולהביא את הברכה. כן, הכל ייתכן, רק אמרו אמן, 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 אמן. שכל מה שחלמתי יתגשם, אמן. אין סוף לאהבה שלי, אמן, אמן. הלילה ינגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. נגן לי מנגינה. צבא של אהבה, רוקדים כמו קונפטי על הרחבה. רוקדים איתי חזק עם החיים שלי קצרים. אז בוא נהיה מאושרים. עם החיים שלי קצרים, אז בוא נהיה מאושרים. כן, הכל ייתכן, רק אמרו אמן, 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 אמן. שכל מה שחלמתי יתגשם, אמן. אין סוף לאהבה שלי, אמן, אמן. הלילה ינגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. נגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. אמן, אמן, אמן. שכל מה שחלמתי יתגשם, אמן. אין סוף לאהבה שלי, אמן, אמן. הלילה ינגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. נגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. שכל מה שחלמתי יתגשם, אמן, אמן. אין סוף לאהבה שלי, אמן, אמן. הלילה ינגן לי מנגינה, נה, 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 נה. נגן לי מנגינה.
What did we just hear?
Oh, the best song ever.
Doris was dancing in the studio here.
It's called Amen, Sarit Haddad, the queen of Sephardic music right now in Israel. And what I love about it is the name, Amen. May it be so. So she's talking about may all of her dreams come true, and all of our dreams come true. Wouldn't you want to wake up in the morning to something like that? It gets you going, it's great rhythm, You shower in happiness and you say, please God, make this day the best. So I'm sharing with you the ones that I love, the one that picks me up, and I hope you, whoever you are, the listeners out there, can enjoy it as well.
So thinking about picking up and that pray or saying amen, um, before we talk about just a small entry before we talk about Dorice Horenstein, who's my guest today, in her book that was just published recently. Um, I wanna read something and just sort of talk about how globalized this book is, though it comes from Jewish values, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in chapter one of the chapters, our neshama, different but all the same. In Hebrew, neshama is breath. Neshima, sorry, is breath. The Hebrew word always fascinates me because it shares the same root as the word neshama or soul. The only difference is the addition of the small letter yud that makes it between neshama to neshima. And then later, the same chapter, you write, I think our task in life is to uncover the neshama that is within us, to know and to understand who we are and how we need to feed and nourish our neshama. This task will be ours from the moment we are able to think until the moment we rejoin our Creator. Although in English there is only one word for soul, our sages says our soul actually has three elements. Each one contributes a different dimension to the soul. Nefesh, the physical side of our soul, the instincts. Ruach, the emotional side and what creates our personalities, our spirit, and our energy, the seat of good and evil. And finally, neshama, the intellectual and rational part of our soul, of the soul. And I read that piece this morning, and I was thinking about what you're going to share, how personal the experience was to that created everything that is written in the book, and then sharing it out. And we have been through very difficult weekend, globalized weekend, the events in New Zealand, and then waking up to another attack in Israel this morning. And I just, I looked at the title, Our Neshama, so different, but also so much similar.
Absolutely.
And I just want to take a moment and send prayers and hugs and condolences to families in New Zealand and families in Israel that lost loved ones in such a horrible way today. And just, you all in our heart, and hopefully us as globalized people that all share a different neshama, but also
with all the same.
With all the same, elements.
It hurt me. It hurt me so much this weekend. What happened in the mosque in New Zealand, and this morning in Israel, and the taking of the life in a most vile way, really. And who has the right to do that to another human being, whatever they are, regardless of religion?
Right.
This is absolutely wrong and horrible. And I hope that the majority of this world is going to come up against it and speak about it so much that it will cease to exist.
I would say amen.
Really, and our hearts go with all the people who are suffering, and all the people who've experienced this loss. And for us, especially in the month of Adar, right before Purim, where the tradition is to be joyful, right? It's the whole concept of Adar is to be joyful. And here we are, there's families that are mourning, and a father of 12 children and a young soldier, 19 years old, who hasn't yet experienced life,
I think the count in New Zealand was 59.
In New Zealand?
Yeah.
49, I thought. 49
people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, horrible.
So
just horrible.
So let's make a little switch, and right before we make a switch, if you just tuned in this morning, you're listening to KBOO Portland. This is the Portland Jewish Hour. My name is Shuri Rotzik, and my guest this morning is
Dorice.
Gifted.
Hello.
Gifted educator. She is a natural educator by being, and fantastic author now and mentor,
תודה.
Dorice Horenstein. So why don't we talk about what happened? What happened in 1914?
In 2014.
Sorry.
1914, you know, it's a long time ago. Not a good stage either in our life, right? First World War, a bad idea. But 2014, fall of 2014, my sister was diagnosed with cancer, and she was my youngest sister. At the age of 38, she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 3 breast cancer, living in Israel while I'm here. And I remember actually getting that phone call. It was a Thursday night. Our synagogue, Shari Torah, used to have a Friday night Shabbat services. It so happened to have that next day. I couldn't go to Shabbat dinner. I was so sad and so distraught over this. And I stayed home and I thought, how can I be of help? How can I lift her spirit? Being 10,000 miles away, right? I can't go and to every chemotherapy appointment. I can't be, what should I do? And so my husband and my son went to this Shabbat dinner, and I stayed home in an empty house. And I actually detail that in my book, how, sometimes when you empty your mind, I sat there on the sofa. I didn't have the TV on or the radio, even though I love music. Nothing was on. I just stared at the walls and emptied my brain. And it's amazing what happens when you empty your brain. New ideas come. And the idea that came was every Saturday night, I will put some kind of inspirational video, something that I thought about. And so I did. I began the next night, and it was on for a whole year. I did that for a whole entire
year. And that was directed to your sister, but
yes.
What else happened?
But what happened is that other people started chiming in and saying that it's helping them. And then I thought, okay, then I'll make a special Facebook page called Lev Moments. Lev meaning heart, because I was speaking from my heart. And I did it for a whole year. And after that, I thought to myself, now what? What am I going to do? What am I going to do with these videos? And the next natural thing for me to do, okay, let's write them all down. So I did. I spent a whole next year writing them all down. And then after that, I thought, okay, now what? I printed them all out. They were all on the living room with me sitting on the floor, like literally saying video 1, video 2, video 3. And I thought, they are all talking about relationships. Each and every video, each and every word here. And so I was surrounded by these papers as my husband, Bob Horenstein, came into the room. And I said, I need to split that, honey. And he said, well, split it to 4, like you talked about Lev. And I thought, well, that was a good idea. He's pretty smart.
I'm going to stop you for a second. Lev means heart.
Mm-hmm. Lev means heart. In Hebrew. Yes, Lev means heart. So I decided I'll split it to 4 chambers. Just like the heart has 4 chambers, so will my book. And my book does have chambers, not chapters. So that makes it a little unique. And I divided to the 4 relationships a person should have an experience to live wholeheartedly. And I'm excited to share those 4 chambers with you. And so when I ask about, when I say that, people always ask me, okay, what are the 4 chambers? Tell us. We want to know. So I don't know. You tell me. Should we speak about it now?
Maybe we'll hear one more song.
Well, let's do. I love songs.
and then we'll go back to the chambers. But also, your sister's experience didn't stop there. It kind of went on. Right?
Yeah, a lot. It was, we actually, the following summer, 2015, I believe, we brought my nephew and my niece. They spent the summer with us here while my sister had to do radiation. And then later on in that year, my oldest sister was diagnosed with cancer. And then a week later, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. So it has been quite a journey, and me being here. It was. So this book is the product of all of what I've been feeling during this time, with the idea of keeping my head above water and inspire them.
So let's take a short. It's kind of hard to stop right now, right? Let's take a short stop and hear one of the songs that when I met earlier this week with Dorice to talk about the show, she pointed out as one of the more encouraging ones she had. And there would be Shlomi Shabbat singing, "En od milvado." There's no one except for him.
ראיתי כוכבים שמאירים את העולם ועם הזמן נעלמים. טיפסתי על פסגות הרים בדרך, גם שאלתי בעצת החכמים. לא נתתי לעיניי להסתנבר מהמראות, והבנתי שיותר מדי זה לפעמים פחות. לקחתי לי מתוך השקט שיר לנשמה. אין עוד מלבדו, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך ואני עבדו. במלחמות אל מול היצר כמו מדבר צמא למימה, אדם נכנע ושוב הנפש מבקשת לה מסתור מתחת לכנפי השכינה. גם אני עמדתי בפתח כמו כולם לבקש סליחה ממלך העולם, ולקחתי לי מתוך השקט שיר לנשמה. אין עוד מלבדו, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך ואני עבדו. אין עוד מלבדו, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך ואני עבדו. הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך, הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך ואני עבדו.
I have to say that I really like Shlomi Shabbat and his songs. I think he's fantastic. Do you want to read a little thing and then we can talk about relationship?
Should I tell about the song? I would love to tell about this song. Shlomi Shabbat, I listen to his song. Usually the time I listen the most to this song is right before the month of Elul as we lead into the high holidays. There's nobody like him. The universe is filled with the blessed be he. And, it's such a personal song. He talks about how he doesn't get blinded by the glitz of the world, but more connected to the neshama, which we have talked about it before. That neshama that is inside each one of us. And I encourage you to listen to this song and kind of reflect on all the things that are outside, but in the month of Elul, the month before the high holidays, there is teshuvah, there is repentance, there is return, that's what the word means. Return into your real core, to your real neshama, to try to uncover. All of our life, I to me, the neshama, and I think I talked about it in this book. I know I talked about it in this book. When we talk about the neshama, and sometimes it's a vessel. Think of any vase that you have, and over the years, you put flowers, you take flowers, it becomes kind of film, it's kind of dirty, and what happens when you put soapy water and wash it? You bring it back into this beautiful state of cleanliness, right? And to me, that's what happened to the neshama. That sometimes with life, we don't pay attention to it. We don't connect with it. And that song helps me to reconnect. Some people do meditation and they reconnect, right? For me, I'm listening to these songs and I am transported to yet another realm of me. So anyway.
And yes, you're still listening to KBOO Portland, and this is my guest, Dorice Horenstein, in her new book,
Moments of the Heart.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, here's something about goodness that I would like to read. Judaism advocates that goodness is the personality trait with which we are all born. Kindness is an action we choose to engage in, allowing us to influence our surroundings. Kindness does not remain with us, but spreads to others. And then I go into talking about Jewish wisdom and Jewish impact and what makes me say these words. And being a Jewish educator, and by the way, loving to teach and loving to speak about partly my upbringing, which is in this book, but also the knowledge that I've gained in the 30 years of working within Jewish education, either in day school or the last 16 years, an education director of a synagogue here in Portland. And so I feel lucky. I feel blessed that I am able to learn, agree, digest it well, and then bring it to other people.
So how did you bring it into the 4 chambers
Okay.
of relationships?
Okay. Good question, Julie. So the first relationship, when we talk about the 4 relationships that a person should have to live wholeheartedly, when I say that, people want to say, oh, what's the first one? Of course, they talk about, my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children. But I say the first relationship, really, the most important relationships that we have is the relationship we have with ourselves. And I think, and I'm not saying it in a narcissistic way that we have to love ourselves in this way, but acknowledge who we are, value who we are in this world, right? Because if we do not have a good grasp on who we are as human beings and what we stand for and how we operate in life and how our actions are the one that make our names. The first entry in this book actually is talking about the phrase from Tanhuma that it says there are 3 names by which a person is called. The name their parents call them, the name people call them, and the name they call themselves. And then it continues that the name they call themselves, i.e. the name we call ourselves, is the name that is the most valuable of all. So, and how do we get our name? How do we get our name? It's by the actions that we take in every single day. And it doesn't mean that we have to be perfect every single day, no. But the path needs to be in a certain way that going forward.
The actions that define us.
Exactly. This is the words I said. Yes, good. Yeah, the actions, these are what defines us. And then I give a little short little reminder here for me, but I speak of it very shortly in the book about my Army service and how I was in the officer training course. Every entry here in this book, I can talk about it for 3 other hours. But the good news is that you, the reader, do not have to do this. The book is actually pretty condensed. It's the first time that I've noticed, and I don't know, surely if you noticed that, but in the back, it says reading time on this book. I don't know if other books, I've never seen it in other books, but it says 113 minutes to read it from cover to cover. Well, everybody can do that. The difficult here is that there's activities. So at the end of every entry, within each chamber, I have several entries, 10, 15 entries within each chamber. But then at the end of every entry, there is what I called your personal lev moments, personal heart moments, and where I give suggestions to the reader to reflect upon, to do, to research, right? And that really what gets them thinking about this particular aspect.
And this book, though, we all seen guidance books that tell us how we will be better in our life and all that. This book is sort of more mentoring or educating about choices that we can make, and then let us choose where they're going to lead us to. Right? There's no perfect answer at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that, because
just connect to your chambers. But so we talked about person relationship with himself. What are the other three relationships?
So the second relationship is the relationship we have with people. May it be our spouse, our children, our parents, our colleagues, and we all have, if everybody feels like us and talks like us, maybe life would be boring. We may not have fights, but it would be boring. So everyone has sometimes difficulty dealing with all sorts of other things. So this book is giving us a different way of thinking about our interaction with other people, whatever they may be. And I hope that it will promote also understanding, compassion for other people, even if they don't think like us, which is sometimes hard.
Yeah, and that's an important point that we kind of have to send forward on the water, especially in days like this.
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
So we had a person and himself, a person and the people around him. What else?
The third relationship has to do with what I call the relationship with God. Now, because I'm a believer in God, it's easier for me. But when I wrote this book, I actually was thinking of people that don't believe in God, and so I wrote it. And in my introduction, you can see that I talk about the relationship with some people call it Creator, some people call it the source of nature, some people call it the neshama that is inside of us. Right? What I am talking about is that power which is above you. Right? It's whatever it is for you that you say, this is what I need to aspire. This is the power beyond my physicalness. Right? That's the third chamber. And the fourth chamber is the relationship that we have with the events that happen in our life that defines us or that change us or that maybe shocked us in any way. Right? So, for example, death is an event that happens that really changes sometimes your perception, right? And your birth, on the other hand, beautiful, happy birth, graduation from high school, bar mitzvah for us Jewish people, right? Bar mitzvah, weddings, that. So how is myself, my relationship changes because of what happens to me.
I'm going to make a quick stop to hear some words from Kaboo, and then we're going to go back to Dorice Horenstein, who's our guest today on the Portland Jewish Hour.
World premiere of Jump, co-produced by Confrontation Theater and the Milagro Theater. The play runs from March 21st through April 13th at the Milagro Theater in Portland. Jump is the story of a 20-something who is reeling from the death of her mother. She is looking for solace in a good place to vape, but what she finds is a journey of self-discovery. Again, that's Jump, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from March 21st through April 13th at the Milagro Theater, 525 Southeast Stark Street in Portland. More information can be found at kaboo.fm on the right side of the homepage under Community Events. Kaboo Community Radio is proud to co-sponsor the Community Forum on Zenith Tar Sands expansion on Tuesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. at City Hall in Portland. The Community Forum on Zenith Tar Sands expansion will address the realities of climate breakdown and the expansion of fossil fuels infrastructure. The event will pose questions about oil train traffic along the Columbia River, impacts on First Nations, and more. Again, that's the Community Forum on Zenith Tar Sands expansion on Tuesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. at City Hall, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue in Portland. More information can be found at kvoo.fm on the right side of the homepage under Community Events.
מבט שבעיניך גנבת את ליבי, בחיוך שקרי שהביא לי את הסתיו. לא קנית פרח ליום הולדתי, לא שאלת איפה כשקר. ים של אהבה היה לי בשבילך, הייתי מאוהבת, רציתי את לבך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. החיים איתך נראו לי כמו סרט דמיוני, ואת ההבטחות לא רצית לשנות, אך פתאום גיליתי זה נער בוגדני, לא נותר בי כוח לחכות. ים של אהבה היה לי בשבילך, הייתי משתגעת לחיות רק לצדך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך. מה נתת לי, תגיד, מה יש לי ממך? לא עבר ולא עתיד, אני לא צריכה אותך.
How can you not dance with this music?
I was dancing.
Yes, you are. I know. I hope all the listeners would be, dancing. This is, you know what this reminds me, and why I ask you to do this. Every Friday growing up, my mom, until today, my mom listens to a radio talk show. I mean, not talk show, music show on Reshet Gimel,
Yeah.
and they have Shir Yam Tichoni or something like that, right?
And Dorice is talking about the Israeli radio channel that is all dedicated to Israeli music.
Mm-hmm.
Only Israeli music.
Yes, Friday morning, my mother will do this, will play this music. We will dance our way as she's making the best Persian foods ever, right? So what do? Being Persian, I continue this tradition. So I'm actually a mix, right? I'm 100% Persian because my parents both are Persians. But I was born in Israel, so I'm also Israeli. And now I'm in America, and I am a citizen, so I guess I'm American. So a combination of everything. I'm a mishmash. But nonetheless, I listen to this music and it gets me, it's called, the music is, the name of that particular song, it's called Yam Shel Ha'ava, a sea of love. Now, how can you not want to bring love into your life? So when I make Shabbat dinners, I put this kind of music on, I dance, I chop my parsley and my cilantro, I make this Persian food. It's the best ever.
And bring love.
Yeah.
You sound like my grandmother when I ask her, so what do you put inside that makes it different? And she says love.
It's so true. So true.
You're listening to KBOO Portland. This is the Portland Jewish Hour, and we are 90.7 FM. if you are just tuning in, and if you kind of on the road, you should wait for till we done, and then you'll be able to listen to us online. I forgot to say that today, so you have to forgive me. But we will be available online on kboo.fm in the archive for the next 2 weeks to listen. I'm having a conversation here with Dorice Horenstein about her book, Moments of the Heart. Yeah, Moments of the Heart. I was saying it right this time.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
And I was gonna say Moments of the Live, and I was like, wait, there's no live in there.
Yeah.
And a little bit about the relationships that build that book, and the Jewish values within Dorice that have been her nest that brought her to create this book, and also her place as a community leader and very gifted mentor and educator here in Portland.
Toda. Thank you so much. Love you.
So creating the videos and then putting it in the book, what did it do to your relationship with your family?
I think it brought us together more, especially for me, because I am the only one far away. Everybody there is in a 10-minute, 15-minute ride in the car.
Yeah.
So it connected with me, with my sister. And then I actually went to Israel in February. So I got that news in the fall of 2014. In February of 2015, I surprised my sister, and I arrived to her 39th birthday. It's one of the entries in the book. And there's actually also a picture of me visiting my sister and connecting with her and accompanying her to a chemotherapy appointment and making a video. One of the videos I made during that year was with me in the hospital with her as she's getting chemotherapy, and I did a whole thing about if I'm not for myself, who will be for me, and if not now, when. And and it had a lot of clicks on that.
And the ladies in your family, the two sisters and your mom, both had a successful battle, right? They all
Thank
survived.
God they are all well. They're all healthy. I say that at the very end of my book. So, you the listeners, ahead of time that they're okay. But I do not say that until the very end. There's a picture of my sister at the end. Just this past year, went to Paris, and there's a beautiful picture of her in Paris. And thank God, God was on her side, and may everybody out there, who suffers from illness, may they find healing, and may they be inspired. And my sister was positive, and she had a fighter attitude, definitely, and I think that's when she won it, because she didn't just give up. She was doing it, and because she was under the age of 40, she had to do double the amount of chemotherapy. She had 16 chemotherapy cycles,
Mm-hmm.
and over about 4 months of radiation,
Oh, wow.
which is a lot. Yeah, it killed every other cells in her body.
Unfortunately, breast cancer and fighting cancer became so common, um, which is a good opportunity for us to remember the teenagers
Always.
fighting for climate change on Friday, and how some of it is related to that, especially coming from Israel. We know that skin cancer is very common in Israel because of pollution and other things. So I'm hoping that people who are going through the battle, have people in their life going through the battle, will find some courage in your book and some guidance in that. And I want to ask you.
And it's it's also not only for Jewish audience, this book, and I want to make sure that they know, even though it stems from Jewish wisdom, because I am Jewish and I am an educator who turned into author, who turned into speaker now. It's not only for a Jewish person. It's anybody who wants to find spirituality, anybody who wants to be feeling uplifted, anybody who wants to work on their own self, with their families, the relationships that they have in the world around them.
So, you being such a leader in the community, and a lot of people have been referred to you through the years that that have been here. What part of that did you bring to the book, and what part of that do you send forward from the book?
That's a great question. Beautiful. One of the entries actually in my book is about leadership. And I talk about the leadership. First of all, the word leadership in Hebrew is manhigut. Manhigut. And it comes from the root and in my book I use a lot of the Hebrew, and I teach about the roots and how the roots give us a glimpse into the meaning, into the hidden meaning. And I talk about that the root for manhigut is nehag, and being a driver. So the idea that you're a leader, you have to be a driver. Now, in a driver, there's also a hege, okay, which is the steering wheel, and how we steer our wheel. Each one, we all have our own car and our own wheel and our own way of transporting ourselves spiritually from one place to another. Right? Is how we use that wheel that we have. And I always have this image, when you hold on to a wheel and you make a turn, a part of the wheel becomes the bottom, right? And another part becomes the top as you turn your wheel. And that's sometimes life is, sometimes whatever is up can be down and whatever is down can be up, right? Then the idea eventually is to have it balanced. So when you turn, it's upside down, it's turning, but then you go to a straight road, the car balances itself, the steering wheel balances itself. And that's like leadership. And that's exactly what leadership is to know when to steer, when to turn, and how to create balance. And leaders, unfortunately, that don't do that create chaos. And that, I think, is something for us to learn when we look into elections in Israel or the political situations here without getting into politics. It's what venue creates balance and what venue creates chaos. And some leadership creates chaos. And we need to be aware of that for our own safety and the safety of the country in which we live.
Right. So how do you send the message forward?
Well, it's always start with the personal, right? Being an example, because leadership is being an example to other people, right? How do we choose that aspect? Being a leader. And so all my life, and my kids will probably tell you, we have evening conversations over the dinner table. It was very important for us as a family, for my husband and I, even though we worked many evenings, we always have dinners around the table, not waiting for Friday night. And the concept of manhigut, of leadership, came over and over again because my husband is a leader in the Jewish community, and so am I. So the aspect that we transfer to our children is that responsibility comes with leadership. And not only responsibility for myself, but responsibility for everybody that listens to me. What am I carrying with me? So if every leader in this world will think of themselves, not what do I gain, my personal thing, how do I gain more seats or more whatever, but what is the message and how am I responsible to the people who vote for me, who are with me, who follow me? I think that's important.
So
does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. These are
Yeah.
some really strong words. I think I need a minute to process you saying that. And I think it's really true. And unfortunately, not always the people we choose to be leaders have been through some kind of a leadership guidance and think that if they have the power, they're naturally
Moses
leaders,
was
but not so.
So Moses, right, in our tradition, Moses was the greatest leader, right? He is and look, to me, the learning point with Moses, and I know we don't have much time, but here's 1 minute, and I did mention it in my book. I did write it in my book. When you fail, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai and he saw the people building the golden calf, right? He threw the tablets and they broke. Okay, and what did he do then? What's the first thing he did? After that, when he saw that here it is, God's words on the tablets, and the people were building golden calf, what did he do? He walked back up, and he was there for yet another 40 days, this time writing the tablets with his own writing, right? God inspired, but handwritten by man. And it gives us the responsibility, the personal responsibility. So sometimes when we're down, and leaders can be down because other things happen around them that is not good, it's the idea of if you choose to be a leader and you have this leader, don't give up. Just keep on going. Be the Moses of today, right? Keep on going. Keep on going. If you have the right message, the right moral values that are attached to these lessons, to this message, right? And you have the people that support you, don't give up.
Let's hear one more uplifting song.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about what's happening now.
Okay.
מנגן לך את השיר, מעשה את הישן ההוא שכל כך אהבנו. איך אותך אני מכיר, כמה זה עושה לי טוב לזכור תמיד כל מה שעברנו. בלי לומר מילה, דיברנו כל הלילה בלי לומר מילה. והשקט יפה פה, איך השקט יפה פה. בלי לומר מילה, זה כתוב לך בעיניים בלי לומר מילה. את ליבך אישרת פה, את ליבך אישרת פה. ורק בשממה כל כך שונה, השמש בלילות שר בשני קולות. ורק בשממה כל כך שונה, דממה השמש בלילות קץ לשאלות. ואת יודעת כמה זה עושה לי טוב שאני כל כך קרוב, לא נותנת לי לכאוב. בואי נמשיך לאהוב. זה כתוב
I'm
לי
gonna let this song
בפנים.
kind of phase out in the background, but just Dorice's book is available in the bookstores now.
Not yet.
Oh, not
November 5th. And
November
5th it will be available in the bookstores. August it will be online. But on April 22nd, we're doing the pre-launch of my book at Congregation Neve Shalom. It's a Monday night, Chol Moed Pesach. I hope you will come. It's at 6:45 p.m. All the information is on my website, and it is just JewishEducationServices.com. You can find more about me, a little bit of the book. There's some pieces that I copied, and it's on the book available. If you want to bring me to your community, there's the press release kit there. There's online courses, a ton of good stuff. A ton of good stuff.
And what is available for people who want to get to know you more, learn Hebrew from you, maybe get some wisdom?
All of it is on my Facebook. You can connect me through Facebook or LinkedIn. Facebook is just Moments of the Heart, and LinkedIn, my name. Also, I'm on Twitter. But go to my website, JewishEducationServices.com. You will get the online classes. You will be able to email me, contact me if you would like different coaching for Hebrew, Judaica, Jewish wisdom. It's right there for you. I would love to hear from you.
So I want to say thank you for this amazing natural speaker, Dorice Horenstein, who came into my show today. It was really great having you here.
My pleasure.
And while the song was singing, you guys couldn't hear that, but the host of the Persian Hours right after us came in, and Dorice was congratulating him and welcoming him in Farsi, which I think is really awesome, because that's the whole point of being here and making Kaboo work, and also bringing our community together and all people together,
Yes.
not matter where they come from, and they can connect on language and food. And
I know
good
enough
stuff.
Persian to be dangerous, but that's it.
So thank you very much for tuning in and listening to KBO Portland and the Portland Jewish Hour. The show is going to be available for you to listen for the next 2 weeks on kboo.fm. I'm Shuri Rodzik. I'll be back early April with some music and preparing to Passover and potentially some more guests that were supposed to come to the show, so we'll see if we can make it happen. And we heard Perach Bashmama by Tai Levy, and Eden Zaken is going to finish the show. These are all like really happy, uplifting songs that Doris chose. Thank you so much for your
You're
music
welcome. Thank you
choices
so much for having me.
today.
It was a blast.
It's really fun. And have a wonderful, it's a beautiful Sunday out there, so have a wonderful Sunday. And I want to send a blessing from here to Elizabeth Schwartz and Beth Hammond. We're celebrating their anniversary today. So
Mazel tov.
you guys are in my heart, and I'm very happy that you came together because I love both of you. And what a beautiful day outside to celebrate. So have a great day, and thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
משהו טירוף עכשיו קורה כאן, לא צריך לטוס למיאמי, כשאתם פה איתי אוי מאמי, בוא נשקולדים ימי, בשביל הנשמה. בא לי כל היום שמש בעיניים, כשבאוטו יש לי נופל לשמיים, עבדתי על גיטרה על המים. תזיזו את כל הגוף לפי המנגינה ותחבקו אותה באהבה, תשאירו את המילים כאילו הן מלכה מקריית שמונה בעגלה, תמשיך המנגינה. המקום האמיתי, מי שלא מכיר, האושר